This is the County Fair podcast, where fair influencers share their valuable insights, strengthening and growing the long-lived tradition of the County Fair. This episode is brought to you by ShowWorks. ShowWorks fair entry software has set the gold standard for fairs across the United States and Canada for more than 20 years, serving more than 75% of the country's fairs. ShowWorks is a place to handle fair entries, billings, payouts, and the incorporation of virtual elements into your show and auction. Visit www.fairsoftware.com to learn more. Today's scripture is from the book of Jeremiah. I alone know the plans I have for you, plans to bring you prosperity and not disaster, plans to bring about the future you hope for. Jeremiah 29, verse 11.
Howdy, I'm Christina Rudolph, joined by my co-host, Jeffrey Palermo.
Howdy, howdy.
Today, we are joined by Laura Moore. Laura Moore helps fairs plan and run their operations smoothly. She's out in California and has so much to share with us today about the role she plays in operations. Laura, how are you today?
I am very dandy. Thank you. How are you guys?
Good. We're glad to have you.
One of my favorite words.
It's a good one.
Yes.
So, let's just jump right in. You're pretty heavily involved in the fair industry out in California. What has been your main role and how many fairs are you working with right now?
Right now, I have 4. I just finished one in Tehama. And I've got a couple. It's the first year actually doing these fairs. I recently retired after 28 years plus.
Congratulations.
Thank you, from the Stanislaus County Fair, December 1st of this past year.
Wow.
So now, instead of taking vacation time, which I had a very good CEO from Stanislaus, I am able to kind of concentrate on who needs the help and getting their fairs up and running again. And after everything that's been happening, and it's great to see Tehama had a live auction also this year. So that was really good to see all the people, the interaction. So, I've got a couple different fairs going on, and I love them. I've been doing it for a long time. I won't say started at age 10 because I think that was before the child labor laws, but you kind of started it. And once I think fair people all know, once it's in your blood, it never lets go.
You're there to stay.
Yep, you're there to stay. So go ahead. What kind of questions would you like from me? Answers?
Oh, definitely. So right now is an interesting time. You're helping a lot of these fairs, you said, go out and kind of get restarted or rebooted during this period where we've come off of a very unusual year. What kind of things are you doing to help these fairs kind of get their feet back on the ground?
Well, going in and helping them, of course, I work with ShowWorks since 1996, the program.
Wow.
They really stepped up. There's a lot of people that stepped up, but in getting the virtual online auctions going last year in a very short time period. So now I'm just working to get that united with the live, trying to tie those together, which gives a lot of opportunity for buyers and parents and grandparents who maybe can't be there, maybe they're out of state or not in town, to be able to view and watch and participate. Their grandkids or buyers can bid from their home, but yet still give the interaction that people love, which I love too. The auction day is probably one of my favorites.
Yes.
It's busy, it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of an accumulation of everything that they've been working so hard for. So just going in and trying to help as much as I can, because a lot of the fairs, their fairs happen once a year. So you may use the program once a year. So I've done a couple different things. Sometimes I'll just go in and do exhibits, the still exhibits. which is very popular too because of all the technology. The online was a real big boost for them. And then go in and just help them as I can on how to enter, what you can do, how you can participate. You know, the outreach, like I said, bringing the old with the new together, yes, and trying to make it the best we can make it for that fair and get participation and new generations of exhibitors, because that's how that's how you keep it going with the fairs.
That's really great.
Yes.
How important do you think giving exhibitors these opportunities is to their futures in agriculture?
It's so extremely important because they always say what's old is new. Mm-hmm. The history and the heritage and the traditions passed along generations. I've seen 5th generation of exhibitors coming through, which probably dates me, but it's so nice to see because
it's wisdom.
Yes, it is wisdom, and you learn from it, and you'd be surprised that even as long as you've been in this business, you learn something new every year from somebody or someone, whether it be, something on an old tradition, spinning and weaving, which I've seen come and go, or the auction, which, now you've seen the grandparent show and now you're seeing the grandkids go through with their animals. It's really important. Fairs have so much to offer in regards to, they're not just a festival. The exhibits and the livestock, that community, the nonprofit, everything brings together. It makes us a fair and not just another festival. It makes us stand out a little bit. And whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a buyer, which, we have tremendous community support. That's what I see throughout every fair that I go to. The community support is so important and it's so big. Very grateful for all that because that's what keeps us going also. I kind of learned through, my father was in the fair business for 50 years. In fact, he's still working. He's 82.
Oh, wow.
He's still working.
You're carrying on the tradition.
Carrying on the tradition. When I moved back to California in 92, he asked me to come back and help. And it just went on from there. So, yeah, I said, it gets in your blood. And I love it. The exhibitors, the people, just I remember seeing an exhibitor win for the first time, won Supreme Champion. It was the first year. The smile on his face was awesome. So that makes it all worthwhile. They learn so much too. They learn how to get along with other kids, to work together. They learn the importance and value of their projects and what it takes. And really, that's what we need to teach these kids because they are our future. So we want to teach them that importance.
Well, that's a theme that I've seen at a good number of fairs is the investment in youth as the next generation and educating anyone that comes in some core agricultural skills and norms and things that support it. There's, for example, a common attraction is the milking parlor. Hey, where does your milk come from? And then other ideas, but so much around education.
It's extremely important. We do ag in the classroom with our teachers, and we pick something different. We've done bees and almond trees before. We've done actual, beef, cattle, dairy cattle, horse, chickens, rabbits. And it's a really good end of the year project for the teachers. And then they come back and they enter the accumulation of what we ask them for, whether it be to create the animal or to have a storyboard. And it gets these kids that may not have the chance, to learn something new about agriculture. I remember we did agriculture A to Z, and that was fun. So the kids learn a lot, and to really teach them at a young age that, you don't have to live on a farm if you want to raise your chicken or if it's allowed, right? Or
Yes.
you want to plant your vegetable garden, you can put it in pots. So there's a lot of, we go to schools also too, to teach this, but there's a lot of things that you can do that are so important because every part is important. I don't think one is more than the other. And, when they're doing things is when they're learning about the past and helping us go into the future. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Whether you're a producer or a consumer, you're impacted by agriculture, and
you are
educating how you're impacted by agriculture definitely matters when we're talking to the leaders of tomorrow who are going to be helping to make those decisions on behalf.
Yes. And teaching them the value of hard work and learning. And just the way they come together as a group, whether you're looking at 4-H or FFA, they do tremendous things in those areas in regards to, even their leadership skills, as far as speakers or anything like that. They learn so much in that. And that value that they learn, that all that importance just goes on with them, in the future. So very important. I can't tell you fairs, how many people look forward to the fair every year. And it doesn't matter where the fair is, but a different state, California Fair, people love it because it's once a year. They get to see everybody again. They get to, maybe enter as an exhibitor, or they come down, their nonprofit comes down, and you just see somebody maybe you haven't seen in a year. It's a bigger one. So it's fun. Yeah, they take their vacations even sometimes. Fair week.
I have a question because you have so much experience helping so many fairs to put on a good show and operate well. What do you find is the inflection point on one end of the spectrum where maybe it's a small fair run by a husband and wife on the low end? Where's the inflection point of size where it grows to the point where you now have to think about having a staff? Where do you see that?
That ranges on the length, usually, amount of entries. If we're looking at that, whether you have, let's say, a fair like Stanislaus who has 3 sales, and it's a 10-day fair versus a 4-day fair that has 1 sale with less animals or less still exhibits. Communication is always the key. Really good communication, because as long as you have that in who's doing what, I always say that you place someone in the best position that they're best at. Some people are best at entering. Some people are best at people skills. Phone skill. There's so much that goes into it, because how you are with the public when you're at a fair or even on the phone, very important, because it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a cut flower, it could be a market steer, it could be a horse, it could be a vendor, but everybody's important. It's important to them, so it's important to us. So I think that's where it brings in where your staff works together. I feel sometimes less staff and more hours, so the consistency stays there, is better myself. But really, basically, numbers really have a big factor on what you do. And like I said, a lot of these people, they don't use the programs or things, but once a year. So it's nice whether I go in and show somebody how to do it so they can keep going, or whether I've got some fairs. I do Riverside down south. I just go in and do it, get it done for them. So, which is fun. I love the people. Fairs are so similar, but yet they're just a little bit different in every way in the different areas. But exhibitors are the best. I'm telling you. I do love to see the enthusiasm, and whether it be 5-year-old or a 85-year-old. In all the areas, it's really nice to see. And I think that, like I said, I think those programs, exhibits and livestock, horse, keeps us being a fair and not just another festival event.
That's at the heart of it. Yes. So you talk about, the community seems to be a common factor in the fairs, and what would you say to anyone who wants to get involved in their local fair?
I'd say reach out, whether you want to be a volunteer, whether you would like to exhibit, help, what you can do, whether you even want a booth or anything that you might do, is really, it's helpful. And we appreciate all of that because it gets you more involved and it gets you to kind of see your community in a wider range. We did city booths, like City of Turlock, City of Modesto, City of Houston. They were like feature exhibit booths. A couple years ago started. And that was awesome because that reached out to the community on what they do, what your after school programs do, what your city does for the community. And so reaching out and just getting involved. And I'm always looking for that. I think that's great. We have a lot of teachers that come in and for our superintendents during the summer because they're off, and it just keeps everybody involved and in the know. And like I said, communication is such a big key, and knowing what you can do for your community because it's going to come back. Even fair comes, and it's one of the biggest weeks for most small businesses when a fair is there in their town. Besides just bringing in the jobs.
That's a really good point.
Jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. They bring in a lot of business too. So it's a very vital point that fairs are important. And the history will tell you that, which I'm a big history fan of the fairs. I like to show what's old and new. And because it really does, it kind of comes full circle. And the history is what makes you who you are today. So you work with your historical society from your town. I know fairs in, I think it was it Puyallup Fair, I believe. And then the fair in Yakima that does a big building completely dedicated to the history of their fair.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, yeah.
It's a great place to highlight the history of these communities. And
oh, yeah. And a couple there was married for 50 years. They met at the fair.
Oh,
so, which I find a very great story. So,
that's really great.
Yeah.
So, you've traveled to many fairs and you've had such a presence at them. You've got to have some good stories. What's some of the most shocking thing that you might have seen that's happened to you on the fairground or?
I'm thinking of the fair tour that I went on, the WFA fair tour. This is many years back. Well, you tour the feature fairs, right? So you go, and it was Yakima, and when I first met the mayor of Yakima, I didn't know it was the mayor of Yakima because he looked like he was about 18. I mistook him for a person at the counter. So, with that said, I went on one of the rides with the mayor of Yakima, which is kind of pretty funny. That's a very nice fair. Let me think of a good one. Another one. One of my favorites. Walking through the barns, I didn't have my phone. And here's the champion row. And here's the supreme champion market goat up on its pen, eating the sign that says, "Please do not feed the animals."
No.
which we've got a few of them. You've got
who taught that goat how to read?
I don't know, but it was pretty funny. So we've had all kinds of interesting things. The thank yous, I guess, sometimes from the exhibitors just for doing something, as part of it. Really, I keep those in mind all the time. You may have one of those busy days, so you just kind of reflect on that and you're like, okay, that's why I'm doing this because, and keeping a smile, I guess, I try to do that as much as we can. Fairs are crazy busy, but the people make it all worthwhile. They do. They really do. And I could tell you lots and lots and lots of stories, but that would take a long time. But just to tell you that the exhibitors have made it interesting for me throughout the years at every fair.
Lots of memories to pull from.
At every fair. Yes. Lots of memories to pull from. And, like I said, you started at a young age. I think I was corn dog corner, I believe, too. I've kind of pretty much worked at every part of the fair before I was 18. Wow. I think I was there at age 12. Nice. So I love to see the kids. They're doing barn duty also, where they're young and they're just taking responsibility and they're telling the public about their animals or their projects. I think that's probably why I like to walk through there and just watch. Because it's very good. I mean, they start as young in Pee Wee showmanship as 5.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yes. And entering exhibits at a young age, too. So, yes, I've had a lot of fun doing a lot of fairs, met a lot of great people, a lot of fond memories, and learned something new at every fair.
ShowWorks Auction is taking junior livestock shows and sales by storm. As the leader in integrated live and online auctions, there's a viable solution to enhance every fair. Check out www.fairsoftware.com today. So whether it's a parent or just a kid that happens to be listening who's never entered anything into a fair and they don't even know how to get started, and it seems daunting. Maybe their school doesn't even have FFA. Maybe their area doesn't have 4-H. What advice would you give them? How do they even approach this?
Call their fair. Call or go down if it's open. Call their fair and find out how to become an exhibitor. How you see it's the exhibits office or the livestock office, but some fairs have those only, when it's closer to fair time, they'll have those open, but call your fair, find out how you can participate. Their websites, there are so many fairs. Yeah, their websites have a lot of information where you can email them and get on the list. Online entry has reached out tremendously for exhibitors in different areas for everything. That's really been pivotal in helping reach out. We still have, the books and that part. Local libraries at least as far as Stanislaus, were a tremendous asset to us in helping get out the exhibitor handbook. Mm-hmm. Libraries are awesome locations for them. And, but reach out to, find out the deadline, right? Find out when the fair is, if you're even able to, a lot of the photo entries you can do online. They're online submission. We've done video games contests. So there's a lot that you can do online besides just, we've got cooking videos. So different kind of categories that might fit. I love taking suggestions from people on what they'd like to see.
You're really a connector. The words that you even used earlier, talking about if it matters to you, it matters to us. Yep. And I can see that when you're talking about all the available items out there.
Yes, there's such a wide variety, something for everyone. Even when our fair was going, the daily contest during fair, which some of my favorites, the tallest weed contest, just something that you can see and do during the actual fair days when the fair's open. Yeah, the tallest weed was pretty funny. We've had
those giant ragweeds can get pretty big.
Oh, that was pretty tall. I'm telling you, we have the big buildings. It was pretty tall. So just the different things that you could do. They have like rabbit dress up for the kids, and even in regards to the younger kids, especially if they're not involved in 4-H or FFA, the open junior and open adults have a wide variety of things to offer for everyone, even jams, jellies, everything. And like I said, we try to keep up on the newest of technology with what we're doing also, which is kind of, I think, of an up and coming. That's why I said, when you bring the old and the new together, that you have to have a good balance between both. because that's what keeps your exhibitors in a wide array of ages involved. And if you get them involved young, they keep going. I love that. I love to see that. Although, like I said, it dates me sometimes when he said there's a fourth or fifth generation I'm seeing. But that means that's a good thing. That's a good thing that we just have a lot of community involvement. So,
yeah.
But just reach out to your fair, whether it be online, in person, or a phone call. Fairs are more than happy to help you with how you can enter, what you can do, and find a place, even a volunteer too.
Now, on the flip side, with with somebody who is looking at maybe a fair far away, and certainly this past year, a lot of the fairs had some difficulties with events, which has caused a lot of people to start, looking around. And maybe their assumption was, oh, the fair is over there, and I have to drive this far to get to it. And maybe those fairs, they really curtailed their operations, and they're thinking, man, I wish there was a fair closer to where I live, or my county doesn't have a fair. For someone who's thinking that, is it a monumental effort to start a new fair, or someone who's thinking, what would your advice be for someone who's
start a new fair as regards to like getting one going in a town?
Yeah, if they're used to just driving a long way because their county doesn't have a fair or it's really far away.
As far as entering, then?
As far as running a fair, like creating a fair.
Creating a fair, first thing, if I were thinking of something like that, I would, again, reach out to a long-term fair manager. That would be because he's going to be the one in the know of what's going on. Reach out, just say, what you're looking at. I'd really like to see, how does that work? Fair managers, I believe, would be your best resource because they're the ones that all encompassing every department area. Find a long-term one that's been there for a while. And even if you don't, they could probably steer you in the right direction. But again, you contact your fair. A fair manager would be, I think, your best starting resource because that's what they do. They run a fair. And the fair manager is the one that deals with not just everything we all do, but just they deal with everything, the stages, the vendors, the parking, all right. the city, the sheriffs. So they have an all-encompassing idea of what it entails. A lot of the states, the fairs, they're either a state agency or they're county. So example, Stanislaus County Fair is the 38th District Agricultural Association, which is a state agency.
Okay.
So we go by California rules for California fairs, state rules for California fairs. Counties are run by the actual county.
Right.
So, and they have their rules and regulations, and fair managers are the best knowledge resource in regards to that. But find one that's close to, there's pretty much a fair, I think, in every area that I know. In fact, multiple. Some are go to their own county. Some open up to other counties. But again, the best thing is contact, whether it be online or in person or a phone call, the actual fair itself, and start there. I'm always available.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure to include your contact information in the show notes for sure.
Thank you.
So we can get you to help out.
The hotline.
Right.
That would be the virtual. That would be our virtual last year. The virtual hotline.
Totally. We had a great conversation just on a recent episode of the podcast. Katy ISD in Texas, the school district's FFA program effectively put on a fair for the school district at that scope. But it's all the same stuff. It was just, for that community. So that was really interesting to see kind of what they do.
Yeah, they do a lot. The Fortune FFA do a lot of events. They'll do their field days. They'll do a lot of events, gearing up for the fair, so whether it be a field day, whether it be a jackpot, which are very good learning experiences, showing them how to shear or show or questions, answers. 4-H and FFA are a very, very good program, either one of them. And we even try to, like I said, fairs try to put out the most information they can, as far as if it was an independent and they didn't have the chance for a group, FFA or 4-H, to give them the materials and the information that they would need to help them. And fortunately, we have a lot of people that could help out too, that, volunteer for the fair. Maybe a long-term, I can give a couple names out there. Maybe like we had Mike Levantini he's been an ag teacher, very knowledgeable in sheep, always helpful with any questions. So again, it's the communication between people, and just helping. And if you don't know the answer, then you find somebody that can help them. But reaching out is your first step.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, this is great information for people who are thinking about entering the fair, or people running the fair, and just your wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom about what goes well. As we going to close up, coming off of this year, what do you think is a lesson that you've seen your fair customers learn that you think will strengthen the fair going forward? And what should the other fairs around the country hear?
It's how much they missed the fair. How much they missed the fair, having it. Gosh, is the fair coming back this year? And with the fair industry, with us, it's us keeping the lines of communication and some sort of participation activity, something with the virtual, like they did with the virtual online auctions, and or maybe, still exhibits, photos, keeping those exhibitors engaged. Keeping them there, knowing that we're still here, we're going through this, but we're working on getting back towards fair. But it really is amazing how many people have told me, gosh, I missed the fair. Is it coming back?
Yeah.
And that's anywhere I go, because it really is. It's fun. It's community. It's something that kids work on projects all year round, local vendors. We've got local ones that are Corn Dog Corner, that come back, have been doing it for years. But just how much it's missed. You don't really appreciate sometimes something until it's not there for you to do.
Right.
But it is our job as a fair industry to keep our exhibitors, our public, the community engaged, and to know that we're still here and we're still working with them, and we want it back as much as they do. So that's
Absolutely.
extremely important. So
awesome.
Well,
Okay.
Laura, it's really important work that you're doing, and we appreciate you and your diligence and your dedication to the fair industry, especially across California. You're definitely making a difference.
Well, thank you. I hope I am, because we want to keep this alive and going for years to come in the future.
Hear, hear.
Thank you for joining us, Laura. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the County Fair Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend, and tell us what you'd like to hear on the show by going to www.countyfairpodcast.com. And to you and yours, may God bless you.